For those of you listening on the pod,
Welcome into hour two. I have the volume cranked. That sounds even funnier with Jacob's voice that loud.
I'm trying to
It's hilarious.
All right, hour two. Let's talk a little Anthony Belton. Is that all right, guys?
Let's do it.
This is so professional.
thick.
He is thick. You're right. So with Anthony Belton, obviously he played offensive line at NC State. So this was his offensive line coach. Tell me this guy doesn't look like he slapped somebody in the mouth, right? So I know I'm going to screw his name up, but he sounds off here and talks about Anthony Belton. All right, so Bill Huber of SI recently covered the Green Bay Packers' second-round pick of NC State offensive tackle Anthony Belton in the 2025 NFL Draft with insights from his offensive line coach, Garrett
Teji.
Teji
would be my thought.
I said Tajagu. I said Tajagu.
Tajagu.
Tajagu. That's what phonetically, right?
What's phonetically mean? I don't know.
I got hooked on
Garrett T.
Garrett what?
Garrett T.
Coach T.
All right, yeah, let's call him Coach T.
Coach T praises Belton's character, loyalty, work ethic, and intelligence, noting his decision to stay at NC State as his potential for NFL success. At 6'6", 336 pounds, Belton's rare athleticism make him a freak athlete, and Coach T believes his best is yet to come with the Packers. All right, so there you see he was actually at the combine when Anthony Belton was there. I really like that shot right there because they're throwing up the Wolfpack symbol. So here are the quotes from Coach T. First and foremost, phenomenal kid, great young man, loves his teammates. Next quote, the things I love about him, like loyalty and camaraderie are big to him. All right. Next quote, every year I was here, he'd have schools trying to poach him, and he never went in the portal. The coach was calling his mom, talking about money, and they're just a very loyal family, very loyal kid, hard worker. That's probably my favorite quote, guys. The fact that multiple teams were trying to offer him more money than NC State was paying him to get him to transfer, and he wouldn't transfer because he was loyal to his teammates and his team. We kind of talked about that in the draft process too when we were doing the scouting and building the board. Like anytime I seen a player that spent, all 4 or 5 years at the same school, that meant something to me. You know what I mean, Jacob? Like the fact that, there's nothing wrong with transfer. Don't get me wrong. You're going to get more money and help your family out. By all means, do your thing. But when someone chooses to stay, I don't know, that means something to me. I don't know if it's just the way I was raised and being raised in a Bacher family or what, but loyalty is everything to me, man. Mm-hmm. I love that aspect.
I think the Packers respect that too. If you recall, Mr. Tucker Kraft was getting calls from freaking Nick Saban in Alabama, seeing if he wanted to transfer, and he said, "No, I'm good. I'm going to stick up here at the Corn." And you look at then what Belton did here. Also, you look at Barryn Sorrell. That's another guy that stayed, I believe, all 4 years there at Texas when he had some other opportunities to go other places. I think it does, especially nowadays with the NIL stuff and with the glitz and the glamour and the contracts and the money and all the stuff that you can get from just simply not being loyal. To me, if I was in the front office, I would totally look at somebody that was willing to stick it out, even when it's not necessarily the best of seasons. You know what I mean? That's the type of player that you want on your squad because you know that at worst case scenario, you got somebody that's going to keep that locker room together.
Yeah. Dead Fish. Go ahead, Emilio.
No, that's exactly the kind of guy that you want. The one that's going to stay, he's for family, for football. That's all it's about. I feel like that you've seen that repetitively this year as well. Like you said, Jacob, going through something, but also just having love for family and the game itself is key to the Packers. I think that's why, those 30 visits are so key, being able to tell that from a person in person.
Yeah, definitely. Dead Fish says I already want him to get a second contract from the Packers. I'm with you on that, man.
What?
I really hope he pans out on the field. I do. And that's kind of the next quote here. I thought it was really cool. I know for
Hold on. Sorry. Bates is saying that he's saying it's pronounced Two Jacks.
That might be the
at least that's how they pronounce the street name in New Orleans. He's saying Two Jack. How?
I was pretty close. Then.
That's a cool name, though, by the way. Like Two Jacks. Coach Two Jacks. Let's go, man. I like it. Coach Tujak said, I know for a fact his best football is still ahead of him. We talk about players entering the league, ascending into the league. That seems to be the case for Anthony Belton. If I remember correctly, I want to say his best year was his final year in college. And he's one of those guys that he had a high pass blocking grade, according to PFF. But when you turn on the tape, his run blocking is what sticks out. I mean, he's a mauler. We did the Chalk Talk the other night. If you guys haven't got a chance to check it out, you can actually go to our Patreon page. Just scan the QR code in the upper right or go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. You can find that whole write-up on Anthony Belton along with this one and everything else we do. And you'll see attached right at the top of the page is that Chalk Talk episode where we break down the tape of Anthony Belton. You can also find Matthew Golden's in there as well. And tomorrow, if we don't get to it tonight, which I don't think we will, tomorrow we're going to be doing a Chalk Talk on Savion Williams, and that video will be cut, edited, and put up there on his page as well. So we're going to keep all that stuff in there. Basically, our Patreon group is going to be the hub for your 2025 Green Bay Packers season is what it's going to be. It's going to be really, really nicely put together. So let's see here. His eagerness to learn is going to separate him, so he's kind of always growing, right? He takes a lot of pride in knowing what to do and when to do it. And again, he's a freak athlete at that size. You just don't see that at that size, what he can do. As Ted Thompson used to say, the good Lord only made so many big guys, right? You can't coach that. You can't. And the fact that he's got the athleticism to go with that frame of 6'6", 300 and whatever it was, 33 pounds is just insane. Another quote from Coach T says, I think the fact that Packers are interested in him enough to draft him in the second round, they'll make sure he gets what he needs. And that's kind of what we were talking about. When was the last time a second rounder didn't get on the field, for the Packers? Last year, it was Javon Bullard and Edgerrin Cooper. They both started, right? The year before, I'm trying to think who the second rounder was the year before.
Musgrave, right?
Musgrave, until he got hurt. He was higher.
He started, before Kraft. Yeah.
And then the year before that,
Christian, was it?
Christian Watson. They got him on the field immediately. The precedent is there for him to start. Now, where does he start? That's the question. Does he jump into the right guard, spot and win that job and maybe take it from Jordan Morgan? I don't know. Does he take Rasheed Walker's spot? Now, the beat writers seem to think, and I believe it was Wildy and several other people talking, that the breadcrumbs that have been left by the front office is Jordan Morgan is going to be competing with Rasheed Walker for left tackle this year. And that kind of caught me off guard because I thought Anthony Belton would jump into that role and they would just keep Jordan Morgan at right guard. But as Matt LaFleur always says, we get your best five out there, I think, we're talking about the wide receiver room camp battle. We're talking about all these different camp battles that are going to be going on. Man, look at the edge room, right? We'll talk about Barryn Sorrell here in a minute if we have time. The edge room and who's going to get that extra rotation, right? All that stuff. Offensive line camp battle, Emilio, it's going to be off the chain, bro. There's going to be like two positions that there's going to be 4 or 5 offensive linemen fighting their asses off for. I think it's going to be awful.
Because it's not like we didn't try to get Jordan Morgan out there last year too. I mean, he was a first round pick. Gave him opportunities, was in there for some starts, and that's something that Sean Ryan's got to be ready to show up if he wants that spot back. Rasheed's, I think, still maybe needs to show up to fight for that spot. And if Rasheed does win out, okay, fine. Maybe Belton's still there hanging around, and maybe Jordan Morgan takes right guard, whatever. But it could be one of those things. It could be like Rasul. What if Rasheed plays for up to week 7 and it's like, oh wait, no, I think Belton's good to go. Like, we have this with real nice compensation coming at us right now. They need a left tackle. And what if Rasheed is out, before the end of the season? I don't think that could happen, but there's like all these possibilities that you could dive into, having a little bit extra help there, and being ready for any type of injuries that could come their way.
Yeah, definitely. Greg Rice asked, was Morgan hurt before week 1? He hurt his shoulder in training camp, right? Mm-hmm. And then he re-aggravated it at the end of the year. So I know people like to pretend like he didn't earn the starting job. It wasn't like he was healthy. It wasn't like Sean Ryan beat him out for that job. And when he was healthy, they were rotating, right? So I think Jordan Morgan's going to be fine. I think we're going to look up in a year or two and go, he's one of our best offensive linemen. And it's obvious that what Goody's doing here, Jacob, is he's setting the stage for the next wave of offensive linemen. So, look, Elton ain't getting no younger, right? And when it's time for Elton to move on, whether it's in free agency or he decides to retire, I think he's 30 right now, right? Or he's going to be 30 this year.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
So you look at it, Zach Tom's in the future. We know that. Zach Tom's going to be here. Jordan Morgan's going to be a starter. I think Anthony Belton will be a starter. At left guard, you got Aaron Banks for at least the next 2, probably 3 years would be my guess, and maybe longer. So there's 3 starters right there, right? And, as Elton Jenkins moves on, now you can play center at a lot older age than all the other offensive line positions. I'm not trying to run Elton out of town. I hope he comes out and dominates at center. That's the one worry for me is there's no one else on that starting offensive line right now that I would feel comfortable going, he can play center other than Zach Tom, right? And I think Zach Tom could play it really, really well. But they obviously like him at tackle more than they do center. Mm-hmm. So it's important, Jacob, to roll those guys through, right? You got to keep that fresh batch ready to go. Is what the Packers have done well for so long. They had Chad Clifton at left tackle. What did they do? They drafted Bulaga. Well, Bulaga couldn't play left tackle. They kicked him to right. Lo and behold, a 4th or a 5th rounder, and David Bakhtiari ends up being an all-pro left tackle.
Yeah, and they do that cycle, and we all kind of grind. I almost said a bad word. We all kind of get a little bit upset at Goody. Myself too. I hate that we cut the string. Seemingly, we all think it's too soon, and then we watch what happens, and usually they're next year or another year, and they completely fall off. I mean, the wheels just fall off that. And it's a vicious game. The NFL, we always say, stands for not for long, and it's a rarity. In most organizations, it's a rarity to get 3 contracts, let alone 2, even make it past your rookie contract. So the Packers have been a really good evaluators of talent, especially in the offensive line room. I ate a slice of humble pie when I kind of balked at the Belton pick in round 2, and then all of a sudden I saw some film. I started thinking about it rationally, see what kind of an absolute man mover that dude is. He's a meat missile, but a stopper of meat missiles. He's like a brick wall. I mean, he's a beast. And like you said, you got to reset that pocketbook every few years. And if you don't, you really got to have a guy. As much as I love Rasheed Walker being a 7th round pick, that is what dreams are made of. But unfortunately, his dream when you're in the Packers organization is that you made that step, you were a 3-year starter, and you're going to go get that money. Somebody's going to pay you money. Somebody's going to pay you a lot of money. It's just probably not going to be the Packers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you think about it, we're in the North, we're cold game situations, injuries, but on top of that, like, we want to be able to just road grade people. I think that, maybe you want, we had size at our offensive line beforehand, but this is size and power and, all of the above. The question, I mean, I would be excited, Matt, maybe brings him in as an extra tackle on one, play here or there, like just to get him loose if he's not starting. Let's go heavy or let's go overload one side and just see if he can't wall down, and even you bring him out there, he could be the decoy of the whole play. Like you bring the big guy out there, just set him up over there and we'll run the opposite side. But it's, buck naked through the trailer park.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of butt naked through the trailer park, surprised O.J. Simpson's face in the chat says, reminds me of building an O-line the way Gruden did with the Raiders when they last had, you guessed it, Josh Jacobs at running back. Their average weight and height of the offensive line was 6'6", 336 pounds. And again, when you're running duo, a little bit different than just running outside zone. Outside zone, you want those guys that can get out there. Now, not that Anthony Belton can't do that because he's being praised for his athletic ability. Right. But running duo, the other thing too, when you're running inside zone or even outside zone, the bigger the offensive linemen are, that running back can get lost behind them. He can hide behind those offensive linemen more than you to see them. So that's something I think goes unnoticed a lot for sure. All right, last couple quotes here from Coach T. Said he knows how to work and can and you can coach him hard. I think that's absolutely huge. Some guys you got to kind of tippy-toe around it. You don't want to hurt their feelings. You don't want to be too hard. This is a kid that evidently loves to be coached hard. A great human being, very good person was the other 2 quotes there. So really excited to see what Anthony Belton does, man, as a Green Bay Packer. Anything else you guys want to add to the Belton talk before we switch gears here?
It just seems like another genuine person, man. That's it. I mean, I think that's all they went after was just real good people.
Yeah, definitely. Jacob, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
I see the comment. You knucklehead. Unbelievable. All right, let's talk a little Barryn Sorrell. That good with you guys?
Please.
We'll have his chalk talk ready to go probably as early as Sunday. So we're going to do Savion Williams tomorrow, and then we'll jump into Barryn Sorrell on Sunday, and we'll just keep this thing moving on here. But this was cool. This was from Dane Brugler on Twitter, and I've been wanting to show this several times. Listen what was said about Barryn Sorrell, okay, coming out of Texas. And again, we talked about how he and Matthew Golden are good buddies, right? And from Texas. Here's what Eli Berkovitz tweeted out. Okay, Dane Brugler with a pretty cool note on Barryn Sorrell. This got confirmed. I'm pretty sure the coach he's talking about is actually the Green Bay Packers staff. But listen what he had to say about Barryn Sorrell in the draft process.
As one team put it to me, when they interviewed Texas players and they asked them, if you could bring one Texas teammate with you, if we drafted you, who are you bringing with us or who bringing with you? A lot of them, all of them mentioned Sorrell. And that's a pretty ringing endorsement for a player.
So every Texas player that got interviewed by this team, one of the questions they like to ask is, hey, you come into the league, you can only bring one teammate with you. Who's it going to be? And they said Barryn Sorrell.
Unanimously.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Really, really cool stuff, man.
Genuine person again. I mean, and that's just this draft. And it's one of those drafts where you're hoping that every single one of them hits, but you could see, you'd be happy with 3 of them. I feel like we could get 5 out of this draft. Seriously.
Right. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. So here is the write-up on him. Obviously, we didn't do a full write-up on him before the draft. So let's dive into it now, all right? We put this together, yesterday I think it was. Green Bay Packers bolster their defensive front in the 2025 NFL Draft, selecting Texas edge rusher Barryn Sorrell with the 124th pick in the 4th round. After prioritizing offensive weapons early with picks like Texas wide receiver Matthew Golden, TCU's Savion Williams, the Packers turn to defense to address their inconsistent pass rush. Sorrell, a 6'3", 256-pound force from Texas, brings athleticism, grit, and inspiring personal story that could make him a fan favorite and a cornerstone of Jeff Hafley's defensive scheme. This was him in high school at Holy Cross. Look at this kid right here. All pissed off. Look at the arms on that dude, man.
That's an off the bus player.
That's right. How many times you recruited a player like that in college football, Emilio?
Too many. Too many times. Athlete,
One of those 3-star gyms, right? That thing lit
Absolutely.
up. Yeah. All right. Here's his high school scouting report, coming out of high school into college. Hailing from Holy Cross High School in New Orleans, Louisiana, Barryn Sorrell was a 3-star recruit in the 2021 class, ranked as the 684th overall prospect by On3 industry ranking. At 6'3", 235, Sorrell showcased raw athleticism as a defensive end with a reported 4.7 second 40-yard dash and a knack for disrupting backfields. His senior year film highlighted his quick first step and relentless motor, earning him all-district honors. Sorrell drew offers from Missouri, Arizona State, Baylor, and Virginia, ultimately choosing the Texas Longhorns, where he developed into a productive and beloved team leader. College statistics says Sorrell's 4-year career at Texas saw him grow from a rotational player to a cornerstone of the Longhorns defense. After limited action in 2021, 7 tackles, 1 sack, he became a full-time starter in 22, amassing 38 tackles, 5.5 sacks, 8 tackles for a loss over 13 games. His 2023 and 2024 season solidified his reputation, combining for 87 tackles, 10 sacks, 16.5 tackles for a loss, 49 pressures in 2024 alone, leading Texas in quarterback hurries. Career totals 125 tackles, 15.5 sacks, 24.5 tackles for a loss, and 29 quarterback hits across 43 games. He started 40 of those 43 games, earning honorable mention all Big 12 honors in 22 and 23. So PFF grades for Sorrell, 54.9, 63.7, 72.9, 71.5. The pass rush grade last year, 74.6. Run defense grade, 73.0. All right. Detailed scouting report entering the draft. Let's just look at the RAS card here. Actually, let's hit this last little bit and then we'll hit the RAS card. Sorrell's versatility allows him to play as a 4-3 defensive end or a 34 outside linebacker, though his lack of elite length may limit him against longer NFL tackles. He projects as a high-floor rotational pass rusher with the potential to develop into a starter if he refines his counter moves. His 19.4 mile per hour max velocity recorded in 24 underscores his closing speed, a trait that translates to chasing down the quarterbacks and running backs. So the RAS score was a 9.31, 6'3", 256, 28 bench reps, guys.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude's stout. Vertical jump, 34 inches. Broad jump of 10.01. 40-yard dash was a 4.68 40-yard dash. 20-yard split, 2.75. 10-yard split, 1.65. His shuttle, 4.36, scoring an 8.05. And his three-cone was a 7.06. All right. Injury and character concerns. Sorrell has been remarkably durable during starting 40 of 43 games over 3 seasons with no significant injuries reported. A minor ankle sprain in 23 didn't sideline him, and he played in all 16 games in 24, including 1.5 sacks in the college football playoff. Off the field, Sorrell is a high-character leader whose passion stems from personal tragedy, the loss of his older brother at the age of 16, which fueled his commitment to football. Described as a big-time locker room guy by Texas staff, Sorrell's work ethic and selflessness make him a perfect fit for Green Bay's culture. His emotional draft day press conference, where he tearfully thanked his family, resonated with fans and team brass alike. It was so damn cool sitting in that bowl at Lambeau watching them announce that pick. That was just, I will forever remember. That'd be probably one of my favorite draft moments of all time, Emilio. You were in there too. How cool was that? If this dude blows up, and listen, he's a 4th-round pick, he could be a bust. This could be a feel-good story that we never get to really, truly celebrate, right? Mm-hmm. But if he blows up and his game goes to the next level at the NFL level, bro, how fun is it going to be rooting for this dude? Man?
Yeah, with a jersey number 99, right?
Dude, that's so dope.
He's just gonna eat just because of that, right? He's just gonna go to town. But you're right. The fact that we got 2, normally teams only get one walk across the stage unless you trade back in. And the fact that we had 2 of them, one later, and still thousands, hundreds of thousands of fans there, whatever it was that 3rd day, dude was just as excited. The fans were just as excited. And yeah, just incredible that, we ended up bringing him here.
Yeah. What do you think about him so far, Jacob?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Love the pick. Love the way that he stayed there. Like you guys talked about, watching him. Oh, dude, I was listening to Ryan's podcast today. I'm at work and I usually have an earbud in and I'll bop around. I'm mopping. I'm trying to, I get down with the real people. I was mopping and I'm out on the floor.
You hearing this, Emilio?
I'm shooting, I'm talking to the old ladies. I'm chumming it up. And all of a sudden I'm listening to Ryan in the background and he gets into Sorrell's press conference and it's just going through and he gets into the part where he breaks down. Yeah. And all of a sudden I started listening really intently as I'm watching. I had to run into the freaking break room because I'm like, just got something in both of my eyes. I was really freaking, I didn't watch, I've watched many clips, but I don't think I ever watched it all the way through of him trying to get through just naming his family and his friends and how his agent was like basically another extended family member. It was, dude, if you don't root for that guy, you got a cold, dead heart.
Yeah. Seriously. Professor Cake says, how did so many scouts overlook Sorrell? I don't get how a super athletic SEC pass rusher fell all the way down to the end of day 2. That's something that Ryan said too, I believe, on that same pod, was like, everybody was looking around going, how is he still here? Like, thank God he was.
Wasn't there like 2, there was at least 2, I'm pretty sure, Texas D linemen taken before him, right?
I was just going to say, I think he's a product of like, the year before the 2 big guys went. Then this year they had Vernon Broughton. They had 2 or 3 other people that got drafted on that defensive line. I think that maybe he was the diamond in the rough that got lost in the shuffle. And
Alfred
a lot of people,
right?
Alfred Collins. Yep. And there was another, I thought, opposite edge or interior. Vernon Broughton, I know, was another one that went. So I just Jesus, I just think that he really does have the ability to really make a difference, and quickly too. Because you know what I saw a lot with him, when you put his response to being drafted next to Rashawn Gary's, holy crap! Like it was shocking how similar they were. They thanked their family. They had an emotional breakdown. They were so excited just to be drafted by this organization. We're hard to get ready, get to work. And I think that they both of them felt like they were a little bit underrated and weren't allowed to show what they could do in college. You know what I mean? They didn't show their actual their true athletic and freak ability.
Yeah, Deadfish said day 2 wasn't he early day 3. I think that's what Professor Cakes was saying, was how did he make it through the end of day 2?
Right.
You know, you would expect him to go in day 2, I would imagine. So draft projection, selected at 124 overall. Sorrell was considered a steal by analysts, with many assigning him a top 100 grade due to his athletic profile and production. In a deep edge rusher class, his 4th-round selection reflects the Packers' knack for finding value, as noted as by Acme Packing Company, which dubbed him their best value pick. Sorrell's consensus projection was round 3 to 4, with NFL.com's Lance Zierlein grading him as a future average starter. His athletic comps to Pro Bowlers like Daniil Hunter and Trey Hendrickson, well, that's a pretty good comp right there, suggests a hot ceiling if he develops further. Sorrell's draft day presence in Green Bay, where he awaited in the green room uninvited, added a storybook element to his selection, culminating in a memorable "Go Pack Go" chant from the fans. All right, so here's what Dane Brugler had to say. 3-year starter at Texas, Sorrell lined up primarily on the edge, 5 to 6 tech. That's what I noticed a lot of was 5 to 7 tech. And defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski's, I think, front. A dependable player over his 40 starts in Austin. He showed gradual improvement each season and didn't receive enough credit in 24 for his impact on Texas's 3rd-ranked defense. As a pass rusher, Sorrell flashes bully hands and an aggressive snatch attack, which became his signature move. So they call that snatch. I call that the punch and pull, where he'll literally hit somebody in the chest, grab their jersey, and pull them down.
Right.
And we call it a punch, pull, rip, because typically they'll punch, pull, and then they'll rip up. Now, I love the fact that when he does this snatch technique, right, not that kind of snatch, Jacob, get your head up. I see you over giggling like a unbelievable. So what I like about it is he does not complete the rip. And if you guys know, in the NFL, if you do a rip move, the offensive line's allowed to hold. Okay, they're allowed to grab you. We've seen it all year last year with Rashawn Gary, right? So the fact that he punches, right, pulls, but he doesn't rip up, he just dips and goes under. If they hold him, that's going to be a hold. It's not a rip move, is the way I understand it. So I think that's important to note and understand there. So let's see here. Became his signature move, locking out and pulling the balance of blockers away from them. Led Texas with 49 pressures and 24, despite finishing 4th on the team in sacks. He is relentless in the run game, but he will lose contain against cutback runs and needs to play with better gear down to eliminate missed tackles in pursuit. Overall, Sorrell passes the eye test, and the foundation of his game is power. What does Greg Cosell say all the time, Emilio? Like, if you're going to play at the NFL level, you have to be able to play with power, rushing the quarterback.
Yeah, you absolutely need it to be able to play. He said you can have moves, you can have this and that, but if you're not going to be able to beat him with power, or at least be able to come at him with power, any offensive lineman, even Ross Tucker was saying that. He's saying I could handle, if I got beat on the outside once or twice, I can handle that. I cannot stop if the dude is stronger than me. It's a lot harder to stop a power move.
Yeah. First step and beating you with power. Those are the two most important things, according to Ross Tucker. So, it says, which sets up different ways for him to win. Although his average short area athleticism might limit the frequency of those wins against NFL blockers, his makeup and motor will give him a chance to carve out a role in a 4-3 scheme. So he had a 3rd to 4th round grade on him. Dane Brugler did. Strengths, sports, well-developed, NFL-ready frame with massive shoulders. NFL Scout said, quote, I wouldn't own any shirts with sleeves if I looked like that dude. That's works in the weight room to put on the freaks list. 425-pound bench press, 575-pound squat, 355 power clean. I'm not trying to diminish him. Those are unbelievable numbers. Savion Williams, our 3rd round wide receiver, squats 600 pounds.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
That's crazy.
Jacob said, could you imagine the cheeks on that guy? Posted fastest mile per hour at 15.13 in hoop drill at the combine. So again, he ran 15 miles an hour in the hoop drill. So you look at the sometimes you look at the 40-yard dash, or you look at the 40-yard dash with wide receivers, and then you see them in the gauntlet like Puka Nacua, bad 40-yard dash. I think he was the fastest catching balls through the gauntlet when he came out. That mile per hour testing is really, really important.
Hey, real quick, just so we don't lose it. In the chat, they were having a weird little, not weird, but an interesting argument where they said they want to see Belton versus Sorrell. I believe Greg Rice brought it up. Greg Rice said that Belton had 20 reps, and then we obviously saw that Sorrell had 28 reps. And then you add in the fact that we're talking about an offensive lineman and a massive D end, and then our third-round pick, Savion Williams, out squats. It's like, what, dude? That is pretty
Goody going to work. That's exactly what that is. It's Goody going to work, man.
Late night in the draft room with the lung dart, man. All right, where were we here? Physical, aggressive hands to deliver thunderbolts at contact. Love it. Maintains extension at contact, then disrupts blockers' balance to shed. Works in a variety of swipe rip moves when he attacks a blocker's edge. Keeps his hands tight to hold his ground in the run game. Quick thinking player to sniff out screens and chase them down. You've seen that all over the tape, by the way. Plays hard, motor doesn't run out of gas. High football character and viewed as a key leader in the Texas locker room. He was a team captain for 8 games in 24. Durable, didn't miss a game the past 3 seasons, finishing with 30 straight starts.
That's huge. I think when I heard that this morning from Ryan, that to me popped off the screen or the into my ears more than anything. Not missing a game in 3 years. That's pretty good, man.
Greg Cosell, this is his scouting report. We'll just hit the strengths and we'll keep it moving here. Showed some refinement as an edge pass rusher with multiple hand techniques to attack and defeat offensive tackle pass sets. Flash snaps of speed to power as edge pass rusher when he had room and could generate some velocity. Pass rush snaps from the 5 technique alignment in which he showed he could work half a man and clear the edge. Snaps of speed to power conversion with strong hand strikes versus offensive guard when aligned inside as a pass rusher. I seen one time he was playing 3 tech, which got me really, really excited there. Love to see that in the NASCAR package. Run game snaps, he showed the lateral quickness to play off initial contact and make plays outside of the box, consistently controlled and dominated tight end in the run game, physically dominated them at the point of attack to make plays, outstanding playing personality, high effort, high energy with competitiveness and aggression, snap after snap. All right. So here's what his coach had to say. Okay. This is from Barryn Sorrell's coach, Pete Kwiatkowski. Said, quote, I saw him finally get picked and I thought it was awesome. He expressed his excitement watching Sorrell get drafted by the Packers, noting his enthusiasm for the moment and Sorrell's joy, which aligned with his family's supportive nature. Another quote from him was, because he's already a professional as far as he's going to show up, he's going to be on time, he's going to put in the work, he's going to work away from the facility when the coaches can't work with him. He's going to take care of his body, is what he said about his professionalism. Another quote, he's not going to get into any issues off the field. He's going to be great in the community, and the coaches are going to trust him, and he's going to be dependable. All right. Next, whether he makes a lot of plays in the stats, that's yet to be determined, but he'll do all the dirty work, and he'll definitely be a positive influence on game day and in the offseason and at practice. He's been a steady improvement every year. It wasn't like there's all of a sudden this aha moment. He just kept grinding and working on it. Another quote, started playing more physical, started playing faster as he learned the defense, eye control. So he's talking about playing with good eye control. And that's some of the issues you run into with like Kingsley Enagbare, right? Sometimes he'll just pin his ears back and go, and it's like he has no idea where the ball is. When you turn on the tape with Barryn Sorrell, you truly see him. It's like this high IQ, this high awareness, this play rec that he has that's just kind of ingrained in him. We had some strong personality D linemen when he was a freshman, sophomore, junior. They all went to the NFL, and he fit right into to the leadership role last year. We had a lot of guys that were similar, but he's the guy who has his house in order, and there's never any drama with him. Like, that's sign me up, man. Yep. So Here's just a quick little breakdown of the fit with the Packers. Sorrell joins a pass rusher edge group led by Rashawn Gary with Lucas Van Ness, Kingsley Enagbari, and Brenton Cox Jr. You ever heard of him, Jake? Providing depth. Green Bay's pass rush, which tied for 7th in the NFL with 45 sacks in 2024, was inconsistent, with Gary's 7.5 sacks leading the team but lacking finishing ability. Sorrell's arrival adds competition and depth, particularly as a situational pass rusher who can spell Gary or Van Ness. His ruggedness and physicality, praised by Director of Football Operations Milt Hendrickson, align with Hafley's aggressive 4-3 scheme, which emphasizes attacking upfield. Sorrell's connection with Texas teammate Matthew Golden, drafted in the first round, fosters instant chemistry in the rookie class. His admiration for Gary, whom he studied in college, positions him as a sponge eager to learn from a Pro Bowler. Expects Sorrell to compete for snaps and sub packages, leveraging his quick first step and hand-fighting skills to pressure quarterbacks. His sturdy run defense ensures he won't be a liability, potentially earning him early downs if he outperforms expectations. One of the clips that Ryan played on his pod today about Sorrell was this dude can play all 3 downs, and that's really exciting there. So, outlook, as a rookie, Sorrell is unlikely to start but could see 10 to 20 snaps per game in rotational roles, particularly on passing downs. His special teams potential as an edge setter or pursuit player adds another avenue for playing time. Under defensive line coach Jason Rebrovich, Sorrell will focus. So that's wrong there. They get that wrong with Jason Rebrovich. Who's the new defensive line coach? What's his name? From New England, right?
Yes.
So Reb's out completely, right? He's the guy that can. So, God, what's his name? We talked about him. I need to do a write-up on
in
him.
the chat. I'll have it.
Tim would know. Tim would know if he was here. Thanks a lot, Tim.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for taking care of your marriage tonight, Tim. Covington. There you go. Thank you, Jesse. Coach Covington.
Yep. There you go.
That's who that was supposed to be typo there. Training camp battles against Green Bay's revamped offensive line, including second-round pick Anthony Belton, will test his readiness to what we were just talking about. Packer fans should be thrilled about Sorrell's blend of athleticism, intangibles, and draft day narrative. As General Manager Brian Gutekunst stated, quote, "We wanted guys who play with passion and fit our culture. Barryn checks every box. With the potential to become a double-digit sack artist like his athletic comps, Sorrell could emerge as a steal if he maximizes his traits. Keep an eye on his preseason performances, where his motor and leadership could earn him a larger role than expected." I know you got a couple things marked in there in the chat, Jacob. Let's hit them real quick, man, before we wrap up.
Yeah, just real quick, just pertinent to this conversation. Greg Rice says, well, who's on the bubble in that edge room? So right off the top, is that
Cox Jr.
You shut your mouth. You don't you dare. You don't say that. To me, it'd be Aaron Mosby, right? And then who was the other guy that was really showing some promise? Man, I can't remember. But typically, don't we go in with it at least 5, if not 6 edge slash D ends?
When it comes to edge defenders, I like the number 5 personally, but it all depends on how many you can stash on the practice squad, right, Emilio? Like that you may carry 7 if you're convinced these guys are going to get scooped up off the practice squad, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So. And that's it. And then you got to think your what you would think probably 90% of your draft picks are going to make the roster. 70 to 90% of the draft picks would make that, and so then you really are running down to just a couple of spots available. I think that you put the wide receiver room on notice. I think you put the D-line room a little bit on notice, and you're going to get your best out of LVN, definitely Rashawn, and that's going to kind of answer some questions for you leading into next year when you got to do something with LVN, right? So
I know what he's saying here because I forgot. So also just a fun random tidbit. It'd be fun to because this morning I was looking at the ESPN depth chart / roster, and it'd be interesting to look at what ESPN is projecting as our depth chart right now. Just because it's interesting just to see who would cut, who, like he said, who's on the bubble. But when we think about it here, so we talk about it's Lucas Van Ness, Gary, Kingsley, Barryn, Sorrell, obviously, and then my man Brenton Cox Jr. But then I forgot that we got Colin Oliver also in the mix, who we drafted. Who he's a tweener though. Like, could we consider him in that linebacker room? But somebody who could, and a good tweener. Usually you don't like that because it's like we don't know where to put him. But with this, it's like if we can slip him as a linebacker, maybe like our 4th, 5th string linebacker that can also have reps on the on the defensive line as an edge. That's a sneaky thing. And then it was, Desmond Alexander, which, he flashed. But I think Aaron Mosby would be the one that'd be on the bubble, in my
That
opinion.
would be, yeah. I completely agree with what Ron Sample says there. That it would be Mosby.
Yep.
So let's think about it here. Both the draft picks are going to make the roster, hands down. They'll be on the 53, right? So then that's 2. Then you got Rashawn Gary and LVN, right? That's 4. Kingsley Nigbare, Brenton Cox Jr., right? So that's 6 now.
Yeah.
Next would be Mosby.
Yep.
I don't think he'll make it. So I think you got to carry 6, man. I think you got to.
Yeah, and then that also leads a question is how many linebackers do you carry? Because right now you got obviously Quay Walker, that's a lock. Edge Cooper, Isaiah, that's a lock. Hopper, you'd think that's a lock. We just signed Simmons. We have Christian Welch. And if Colin Oliver is going to slip into one or the other category, that's a freaking lot of linebackers.
Yeah, it is.
So I think that Christian Welch and Simmons would be on the block there. But
yeah, I think it would be interesting too with, like you said, Colin Oliver, if he can play a little hybrid backer, that's going to increase his value, and maybe you can carry. Let's look at the linebacker room, and we need to look at the depth chart, like you said, soon. We need to do an episode, just a full depth chart breakdown now that the draft's over. We can use Our Lads and ESPN. I think they both do a good job year round, kind of keeping it up to date. So you got Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, Isaiah McDuffie, Tyron Hopper. Tyron Hopper's a 3rd-round pick. He ain't going nowhere, right?
Yeah.
So that's 4 backers. You just signed Isaiah Simmons, but Isaiah Simmons is kind of that hybrid. He can play safety too. He's going to be a special teams ace, I would imagine, taking Eric Wilson's spot. So that's 5, right? So if you carry 5 backers where you normally would probably carry 6, yeah, that's probably where you make it up there. You just carry 5 stack backers, and Colin Oliver can be that 6 in a pinch type thing. Probably makes the most sense. So.
Did Isaiah Simmons get the minimum?
I still haven't heard. We could check that tomorrow too if you want. Let me make a note here. Isaiah
Just
Simmons.
because that if he just got the minimum, would that be like a wide receiver like McCole Harbin type thing? If you're not going to make it, it's not the worst thing that's happened. We tried it, brought him in, didn't work out. Right.
That could be the case, but I really think they plan on keeping Isaiah Simmons just because of the special teams value there.
Right. That's true.
Because didn't he have like an 88 special teams grade or something?
Yeah.
It was very good. Yeah.
So, and that makes me feel a lot better about the Eric Wilson departure for sure. So, Miko Harbin too. The other thing, hearing all these interviews, both Savion Williams and Matthew Golden, they said, did anybody reach out to you? Multiple people reached out to Matthew Golden, but both Matthew Golden and Savion Williams mentioned Miko Hardman reached out to them. I thought that was cool.
That's awesome.
Just the early signs are like he's going to be a good teammate. So United Base seems like we do have the numbers. So there it is, $1.3 million with 167,000 guaranteed. So that's cuttable. But 167 grand's a good little chunk of change. I think they would like to have him on the roster, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I want to say about Isaiah Simmons. Listen, he hasn't been good. Don't get me wrong. If he had been a 5th-round pick with a special teams grade like that, people would be going, man, that was great value there. But he was the 8th overall pick, so he's always going to be kind of viewed as a bust, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that this is his 3rd team, I'm not expecting him to be an all-world linebacker / safety. And I think he fits more in a linebacker room than he does a safety room, me personally. But doesn't hurt to have that kind of athleticism and depth, someone that can cover the seam if you need him to. So
Absolutely.
You got anything else, Emilio?
No, speed of the defense is based on your linebackers. I think that we've done a lot to try to enhance that. And I really am excited to see Hopper get out there. Like Quay, Coop, all of them kind of together. Hopefully we get Quay's deal done before the season and just, you walk in there ready to roll. Like we talked about, when Jordan got paid, you walk in there after you've been paid, it's game time. So I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
What about you, Jacob? Anything else, man?
No, I think the biggest takeaway I have is I'm just really excited to see Barryn Sorrell come in there and absolutely gel with this defensive line, specifically with Gary. He actually mentioned Gary in his press conference of a player that he idolized and who he wanted to take his game after. And he said he was really excited to actually meet him face to face and get to work. And like I said, I saw unbelievable comparisons between the two of them, both in their play style, demeanor, and the way that they got emotional when they were finally given that chance to change their families' lives. So I think that he's one of those players that's not going to take it for granted. I think we're going to see an absolute freak. Even if he is 10 to 20 snaps, I think he's going to make the most of those.
I'm excited about this class. I haven't been, last year I was excited, but not like this. This, I don't know, something feels special about this group. It really does. And Matthew Golden, I think Savion Williams is going to be one of those players that it's going to halfway through the season, we're going to go, oh, this dude's getting it. Matthew Golden, day one, I expect him to be out there and making things happen. I just can't wait till he takes the top off the damn defense the first time where people go, oh, that's what he can do when a quarterback can throw it more than 30 yards down the field. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like to have him. I'd like to see him get overthrown, once or twice.
Yes.
Like, okay, let's.
Go ahead, Jordan. Try it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because everything I seen, he was having to pull up, and it wasn't just like pulling up at the end. It was like as soon as the ball left the quarterback's hand, you could see him kind of, taper it back.
Sort of get into position, get over tops, kind of stack the guy, get in front of him, and then pick your spot.
Yeah, which is a great thing to have. That's something that I feel like we've been missing here lately. As much as I love Christian Watson and that frame and the elite speed and everything, it took him a while to get to where he could high point that ball and really time it up. And I still think watching Golden's tape in college and watching Christian Watson's tape this year, I feel like Golden tracks the ball better than Watson. And I love Christian Watson. I'm just saying that's Golden's strength. Watson's strength is that he's a freak. He's just one of those tall, fast, crazy vertical jump type guys. Yeah. So, all right, that's it, guys. We're going to get out of here tomorrow. Also, best way to support the show, Patreon group, patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access, or scan the QR code in the upper right there. $3 get you access to everything on the site. It's absolutely blowing up. We're going to continue to pump out content on there. Chalk Talks, all that stuff's going to be up there. Tomorrow, going to be a little bit different, okay? We got dinner tomorrow night. So the plan is to do an afternoon show, if at all possible, okay? So I don't know. Jacob, are you working tomorrow?
I can not work when we're doing an afternoon show for sure. Yeah.
Okay. What time would be best for you in the afternoon, do you feel like?
Anytime afternoon, man.
That is the afternoon. So let's do we do 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. Would that work? 2 p.m. Central? Is that cool?
Yes.
That's afternoon.
Deal. It is.
This is
2 hours.
Will you be awake by? I know you got
like 2. That's going to be close. I don't know.
You know what it immediately made me think of is, do you remember? And I won't say what he actually said, but was it Paul Mooney on the show? I'm going to start calling it "Good Morning Mexican America." He said the show will air at noon. Tell you, Paul Mooney's the man. God, so good. That delivery is just so dry. But anyway, so we'll do that. We're going to go 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central tomorrow.
Perfect.
And and Emilio won't be here. That's why he says it's perfect. So
absolutely.
Yeah. We're hitting the Brazilian steakhouse tomorrow night, boys.
Oh, which one? Rodizio?
Rodizio?
Yeah, you never heard of that one?
This is called Rio, sir.
Oh, okay.
Rio.
How dare you?
Exactly.
Right. Sorry, jeez.
So yeah, it's gonna be a good time. I haven't been over there in a while, so I'm gonna go stuff my face.
Get ready to go.
Go back in for seconds. So that's the way it works. All right, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We'll see y'all tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central. We'll end the show with Savion Williams Chalk Talk. Okay, that's what we'll
on Rumble. That's where we go. Holmes, I saw you at the chat last time that stream ended. We all went over to Rumble to watch the
Holmes. You caught some strays from Emilio. He said,
I was like, Holmes, we said it 3 times, my man. We were going to Rumble.
We said we're going to be going to Rumble in a minute. Okay, so y'all be prepared to jump over there for Chalk Talk. We talked for 10 more minutes ago. Okay, guys, we're going to Rumble. All right, we'll see y'all over there. And then
Holmes said, "Where'd everybody go?" What,
You got to just start saying, "We're going up in Rumble." All right.
And it's going to stay live on X, but we will kick off on YouTube. We will be on YouTube, so be prepared for that. We want to give you guys enough content, and then we'll hop over there and do the Chalk Talk. So a lot of stuff to cover tomorrow. It's going to be fun. So appreciate y'all. Everybody have a great night. Y'all stay safe out there. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Don't be weird like that guy in the upper right. And go Pack, go.
And we go. We're out.
Bye, guys.